From there, I take my favorite sunscreen. This one is Prem. It's a Korean beauty one, and I do about that much for my whole face, which seems like a lot. But it's the single best thing you can do for your skin. I am in my mid 40s. I've never been a sun worshiper, and I have been very, very good about making sure that I wear sunscreen every day. And all those years of people telling me, it doesn't really matter. It does, gang. This is decent skin for a lady my age. So I make sure to rub it down my neck, any part that's going to be exposed. Now, I will say, there are other sunscreens you can use, ones I've listed below. I like this one because it has a nice little smell, but it becomes invisible once you put it on. Like that, you don't see a white cast, and it's still a mineral sunscreen, which means you're not going to get stinging in your eyes. So I always start from the top down. So while I'm letting everything kind of meld together, I saw this guy just went flying over here. I'm going to do my eyes. So this is my favorite little eyebrow pencil. It's got a teeny tiny tip. And, oh, this is so weird doing it in here. This is why I don't do YouTube tutorials. I'm too blind to do them. But I'm just going to draw a tiny line. I'm going to cheat and use my little compact at the same time. A tiny little line underneath my brows, just so I know where I'm going from. Now, I have quite dark brows, and they are still, for my age, rather thick. But you'll see just what that did. All of a sudden, I look like I've spent time on my brows, and it's like 4 little baby strokes. So let's go here. People freak out about brows a lot. I get it. They're annoying. And it feels like one tiny wrong move and you've destroyed them. What I would say is just do a little bit, stop and look. Tiny bit, stop and look. They're never going to look identical. I've been doing this for plenty of years. They are never going to look identical. The best you can hope for is that they look somewhat the same. I always struggle with my left brow. I don't know. It never looks as good as my right. But that's about all I do. It does not take that long. But then again, I'm not recreating the wheel. So this tiny little thing took care of my brows for me. And it will for you too, even if you don't have a lot of brow. A brow pencil like this is a great one. And I have it mentioned in the blog post. So things have started to meld in my skin. If I were working on a client at this point, I would start foundation, and we're not going to though. And I'll tell you why, is because I got kind of a mess on my hands with these broken shadows. So this is my first and favorite love. This is the Theory Palette by Viseart. It is tiny, but it has really nice sized pans inside. I told you I've had this for years. And, I mean, you can see the little divots in it. I definitely get a lot of use out of it. But it's still going strong. And as long as it doesn't have an odor to it, I feel pretty confident. I don't know that I would use this on clients, but I don't mind using it on myself. So it has taken a beating on the outside, but I have never lost shadow. So this is my other fave, is my beautiful little Natasha Denona, and you will see that there's a crack there. I am not going to use this for this demo because I'm going to try and repress that in the pan later. But if you see this, it's super high quality plastic. I'm going to show you another one. I just happen to have a bunch of these. This is not one that I keep in my kit, but it's a thick plastic. And then you've got these pans that are not nearly as big as Viseart. I don't think you get as much bang for your buck with a Natasha Denona pan, but you can get a lot more colors. Like, I could get almost 2 of these for the same price as the Theory palette. I prefer the Theory palette still from Viseart, but these are great because they're pretty indestructible, but I have proven this wrong. So we're going to start with my Viseart palette. Some people like to prime their eyes. I don't. And I'm going to start with my brush. This is a clean brush. This is the one I mentioned. That's the Beaugachis, I think is how you say it. I probably own 30 or 40 of these. I love these little guys. So I always start with just kind of a neutral shadow for my skin type. This is not neutral across the board, but I like to start just by getting some color on here. Now you may look at this when this is done and say, well, that's the color of her skin. And probably on the video it is. But in real life, it gives you a slight lighter color than what my skin is. But the reason I like that is if you put something down first, whatever you put down first is going to stick there first, if that makes sense. We have oils on our skin. I just put oils on my skin. I didn't put much on my eyelids, but the second you put a powder there, whatever you put there first is going to catch. So I like to put a base powder down. Now, in my everyday, I'll show you the brush I like to use for this. I like to use this big fat guy. But I don't like to travel with multiple brushes. So, yeah, I just use this guy. And then, because I'm going into the next color, I'm not super worried about there being a little bit of that lighter color. This guy, he is a beautiful, slightly warm brown. I'm not taking a ton. I am touching it and I'm getting rid of it. You'll probably see a little bit of that going. So this is a really basic eye look that looks good on almost any eye shape, almost any age, and is so fast and easy. So I'm going to find the crease in my eye, which is basically where this bone comes up to where the squishy part of your eye is. And I'm going to go right between the squishy part of my eye and the bone. And I'm just going to go back and forth really lightly. If you notice, I'm not holding it up here, which is why I don't like little travel-sized brushes. You have to hold them there. I generally hold it so just a little bit touches my hands right here. And I'm taking a tiny bit more for this outside edge. I'm going to bring it down like this. And I'm going to keep working it up here into the crease. All right, I gotta move on. I'm talking too much. So, okay, that there, I'm really making sure how much on my brush right now that I am going back and forth and bringing it out closer to my eyebrow. I'm going to take on my other brush, I like to bring 2 brushes, and that is it. And I do. And I set them down. Oh, they're there. And they ran away from me. I'm going to take this little Real Techniques brush and just a little bit. This is a cooler brown. I don't like cooler colors so much on me, but I love them for this little outer part. I'm just going to go right here and just kind of pull that up into this little V. I'm trying to make my eyes kind of follow this line. Not a ton, just a little. And I think a lot of times too, we look at this and we worry, well, this isn't going to look good. It doesn't look great. Wait until you get mascara on your eyelashes. Everything looks better then. This is crazy. Hold on. I got to see what I'm really doing. I'm too blind to do this like that. Okay. Then I'm going to take the brush that I had before and I'm just going to go back over it because once again, I'm not doing a high glamour look. I am just making myself look like I'm not 105 years old. If it is a day that I want to take some pictures or want to do something special, I love, and you can probably see from the divot in here, I love this color right here. So I'll take a little bit on my middle finger, just like that, and I will just lay it from about 2/3 of the way across and just kind of rub it back and forth. Don't worry. I mean, don't get it up too high, but don't worry about how precise you are, because just like everything good in makeup, we're going to go back in and blend. I'm going to take a little more of that light brown, just a bit, and I'm going to go back in the crease. That way we make sure that whatever is there that is shiny gets covered up, because you don't want shiny in your crease. That's for another lesson. Okay. So at this point, what I'm going to do is I am going to clean up. I told you guys about wipes. I am just going to pull out whatever is a mess under here. My eyes may look a little brown underneath. It has been allergy season here, and I rub my eyes like a crazy person. So forgive. All right, moving on. We're now going to move on to foundation. It's my favorite Bare Minerals foundation. If you were using this on a client, of course, you would take a little piece off and put it on a palette, but this is my personal one. And that looks about right. I have had a couple questions, mostly from family members, about concealer, and I'll tell you in just a second. I make them read my posts first. This is my little brush I like to take everywhere. It's my IT Cosmetics Heavenly Luxe Flat Top Buffing Foundation Brush. And I love it because look how fast it works. If you notice, I have redness to my cheeks, always have. It only gets worse as I get older. I don't think it would be what I would necessarily call rosacea. But because it's not dry, none of the other hallmarks are there of rosacea, but I do get red little cheekies. So sometimes I will do this and I will go back, because do you see that redness still coming through? I do, and I'm not even in a good mirror. And I'll put a little more on, and I will wait. Also, the double chins are a real struggle, y'all. I'm going to bring a little bit down there. I like to look at people like this, and you don't see that I have double chins. My kids love to make fun of them. I said, just wait, man, just wait. Okay, so once that's just been sitting there for a minute, I will just stipple instead of drag, because that's going to make sure that more of that product is going to stay over there. Now, I have a lot of under eye wrinkles. I do not have a ton of discoloration. But what I do have are my dad's really awesome eyelids that can do this. Which is a gift, I'm sure, somehow, in some land. So I generally don't use concealer because it tends to bunch up under my eyes. When I do use a concealer, there's a couple I like, but I will say, and if you really have questions, send them to me and I'll tell you a couple good choices. What I use in my Pro Kit are other high pigmented things, so it's not like I really often use concealers, but I do notice, like right now, as I look at myself, where I have been rubbing my eye, it's still a little bit brown. So I will just take my finger on this, and I'll just dab it right here. Dab it right here. So, could you use a concealer there? Totally. Do you need one? Not if you're using good foundation.